All right, welcome back, everybody. Today we got something different going on. Instead of doing a regular review, we're doing a kind of talk thing. And today I got my dad joining me.
Hello, how's everybody?
All right, and basically we're just going to yak about Star Wars for a few hours. All right, redo that for a few minutes. Now, Dad, you were born in 1959, right?
Right.
You were around before Star Wars was a thing.
Yeah.
I was born in 1990 when Star Wars was already established. But from your perspective, what was it like growing up through the 70s, 80s, and all that stuff?
Well, see, we got to see it before anybody else.
So you got to see it in theaters?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, drive-in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And I do remember me and my family went to the movie theater to watch Star Wars. Well, when we went, there was no other parking spots. Everything was filled. This was something that took off immediately.
Right.
I mean, after the movie come out, everybody was talking about Star Wars. It was kind of a, I don't know, generational thing. Is what it was.
Yeah, and it's something that peaks once in a while.
Yeah. And see, you got to think how far it was between Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
Okay.
I actually had the dates here. And what it is Star Wars was released in 1977 with Empire Strikes Back in 1980.
Right.
Now, in between, we had the holiday special, which I talked about in a previous May 4th day. And we don't talk about that no more.
Stir, whip, 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 stir. Come on, faster all together now. Cooking can be fun. Stir, whip, whip.
Damn it, Wade!
Do you remember seeing the holiday special at all?
No.
No. Okay. The reason for that is because it was only aired once. So, yeah, if you didn't catch it that one time, you never saw it again unless you had some other means of doing it.
Nobody was looking for it back then.
Right. Now, when I grew up in 1990, Star Wars was already established. We had games, we had comic books, but everything was built up after Return of the Jedi. So it just built on from that. And it was a peak time in 1990 before A Phantom Menace showed out in 1999, several years later. But what drew you to Star Wars? Other than what it was, what separated it from other sci-fi at the time?
Star Wars was the first real outer space movie.
Well, we had several of them. Roger Corman was notorious for doing sci-fi films. He even copied Star Wars for several times. Like Star Crash, for example. It even had lightsabers. But what was the difference between that Star Wars?
I guess it was the way the film developed out. They took and they made this kind of like a family thing.
Right.
Okay. And this family was fighting the big empire, is what it was basically about. And it drew so many people because of the way it was developed out that people just automatically was attracted to it.
The dynamic, you're saying.
Yes, because it was on its own. It was out there, but it was by itself.
And you can also admit that Star Wars had a different type of class compared to Roger Corman stuff. But Roger Corman stuff felt more like a standard grindhouse drive-in theater thing.
Right.
You'd watch it once, forget about it, where Star Wars stuck with you.
Well, back when it first came out, there was no VHS tapes. There was no DVDs. There was nothing like that. The only way you could catch it was if you catch it in movie theaters or on TV.
Which has also helped Star Wars grow because when Return of the Jedi came out in 1983, VHS started taking off in 1987, I would say.
No, it started in, 79 or 80.
VHS started that?
Yeah, because that was when they started having the rental places.
Right, they started popping up.
Right.
But with the explosion of rental movies back then, and then Star Wars hitting VHS, it exploded even more.
Yes.
Right. Because in the 90s, we had rental places, but not as many as when you were growing up.
Well, there was rental places every place. You could just turn around. And it wasn't just Blockbusters. It was all kinds of other places.
Right.
Individuals was doing it.
Right. But when I was born, you had recorded Star Wars on a VHS tape.
Right.
That's how I was first introduced to Star Wars. It was on a VHS tape with Romancing the Stone, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So every time I'd watch Star Wars, I'd want to go watch Romancing the Stone. Just a thing, but...
Well, it was on TV.
Yes, and I will admit I was drawn to Star Wars because of Pew Pew Blaster Rifle. But I also mainly stuck with the Ewok movies until I got old enough to appreciate what the Star Wars was. And then in 1999, when The Phantom Menace came out, that was my generation of Star Wars. Now, people will knock the prequels. I know for the longest time I did too. But it does have its merits.
Well, it fills in a lot of holes.
Right.
You know, because nobody knew what happened before that.
Mm-hmm.
Before A New Hope.
Yeah, because a lot of it was left up to imagination.
Right.
And that's where it kind of affects different age groups. Like with me growing up with the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy, I got to experience the original trilogy before experiencing these new movies. Now, I will admit, I didn't get to watch any of the prequels in theaters. The only Star Wars movie I actually watched was that one that came out by Disney. What is it, Force Awakens, I think?
Yes.
I watched it twice. I bought into it for a while, but it kind of blah, and we'll get into that in a minute. But growing up with both the prequel and the original trilogy, it changed things. But also with all the games coming out, like Star Wars Bounty Hunter, Dark Forces 2, videos out later this month, I got to experience the whole grandeur of it. From your perspective, how do you think Star Wars is doing right now?
They're hunting new ground.
Yes, and they're not really finding it, are they?
No. The way everything played out in the last 10 years, or well, 15 years, they've more or less went back to the original 3.
Mm-hmm.
And if you'll look at the prequels and even the new stuff that they come out with, it's all going back to the same original 3.
Right.
It's all working out exactly the same.
Yes, because the sequel movies that Disney have come out with have more or less copied what the original trilogy did, which is more or less a mistake. I've said my piece about how Disney's handling it. There are some diamonds in the rough, like you're a fan of Star Wars Rebels, right?
Yes.
Now,
Also Clone Wars. I do like Clone Wars.
yes, but you like Rebels a little bit more than Clone Wars,
Yes.
right? Now, as far as Rebels goes, how do you think the story panned out for you that made you enjoy it?
It had a lot of the same things as Clone Wars.
Right.
I mean, it was all about how the Empire was dominating everything, and you had your rebels out there fighting against the Empire. Period. Right. And that's what they were trying to do: make it harder for the Empire to take and get what they want done.
Right.
And I liked the show. It was well written.
Mm.
They took and the characters actually did their own thing singly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason I liked it more than any of the rest.
It also bridged some things between the prequels and the original trilogy. And I even ended out Maul's character arc.
Yes, it did that. Also had Obi-Wan in it for one episode.
Yeah, one episode.
And then you had Ahsoka, which was Anakin's Padawan, in it also. Like I said, it had a lot of things to do with the Clone Wars and stuff like that, which it kind of, you had Clone Wars and you had one of the movies and then you had Rebels.
Right.
You know, and that's basically the way it was set up.
Yes.
And like I said, it was well written. I liked the way they set it up and everything.
Yeah, there are some things that I wasn't a big fan of in Rebels. Like, if you go back and watch the special features, if you're that much of a nut, you'll see they wanted to make the lightsabers thinner.
Yeah.
To mirror what you see in A New Hope. Now, the reason why in A New Hope they look that way is because of the technological limitations. And when they go back and make lightsabers look like this, they're saying they're trying to mirror the two together. But when you look at this VFX artist, he says he likes the thinner version than the bats than what you see in the prequel trilogy. But George purposely made them look that way. They're swords of light, for crying out loud. No matter where you hold them, they're going to cut or hurt you. So when they go ahead and do this, it's almost like they're saying George had it wrong. He was limited by the technology of his time.
In ways he was.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Now, you go back to the... Okay. Then you had the Darksaber.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It was... I don't think I've seen it in Clone Wars.
Yes.
It was in Clone Wars.
Yes, it was in the last 3 seasons, I think.
Okay.
And what it is the Mandalorians, they had it.
Right.
And then it played into the Mandalorian TV show. And I think it's even in the Ahsoka TV show, which I haven't watched completely. You haven't watched it?
I haven't watched it at all.
I think you would enjoy it because it actually ties in with the Rebels.
Yeah.
I enjoyed The Mandalorian, respectively, season 1 through 2. I think season 3 they jumped the shark because Mandalorian ended with season 2.
Yes, it did.
Because it kind of had that bittersweet ending to it. You're not going to have every story end with a nice happy ending, you know?
No.
But I get Disney's wanting to make a movie out of this since The Mandalorian is their most successful TV show for Star Wars. But I think what they're doing now is they're throwing too much shit at the wall to see what sticks.
Yeah, but you've got to try things. And if you don't try things, then you ain't going to know which direction to go.
Yes, but if you look at Star Wars the way it is now, Disney is basically just throwing everything. Because I think they've had 8 shows in the span of a few years. Because they got Andor out. Now, Andor, I watched the first couple of episodes of it, and I trashed it in my Dark Forces 1 video. I thought it was slow, repetitive, and it was trying to be an espionage TV series with a Star Wars skin. But I actually got to watch the last few episodes of season 2, and it is really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's that bittersweet story that I like. Not all Star Wars TV shows need to have that. Try to capture the original trilogy's magic. It needs to do its own thing, like The Mandalorian did.
Yeah. Mandalorian was well written. I liked it.
Right. Now, season 3 of The Mandalorian, that's a different story altogether.
Actually, I haven't watched it.
It's got Lizzo and Jack Black making cameos in it.
Okay.
It's very corny, and it's trying to undo what season 2 did. It doesn't feel natural because we're in season 2. It's over.
Yeah.
There's no reason to continue. Just go ahead and do something different. But because it was their best show at the time, they had to keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
What sucks is you have to watch Boba Fett in order to understand what happened between season 2 and season 3.
Yeah, but Boba Fett just chopped off.
Yes, Boba Fett is just one season thing, and I don't think they're going to do it because its ratings were abysmal. And it's not as abysmal as let's see, what was that piece of shit? Oh God, I can't think of it. Oh man, what is it? I can't think of it. Alkalite, yeah.
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 That's out now.
You haven't watched it, have you? Don't. It's terrible.
The power of one. The power of two. The power of many.
I can understand why some people would like it, but it's trying to go back into the old Republic era of things, like with Darth Revan and stuff like that, or an era in between. Now, I never understood why Disney decided to do the High Republic, because it makes sense to call it the Old Republic, the Republic, and the New Republic.
Right.
That's how it was in the original EU. Whereas in Disney's version, they want to do their own version of a Republic and basically rewrite the Old Republic. And it doesn't make sense because it's a time continuity issue. And if you look at what they did in Obi-Wan, which is another show you haven't watched yet, I've watched parts of it. And the first 3 episodes I can do without. But the last 2 episodes with Obi-Wan and Vader just try to retread new ground, but end up retreading the old ground that they did in Revenge of the Sith.
All right.
Now, when the prequel trilogy came out, did you like the prequels that much?
What it actually done for me was it took and showed me where Anakin, how he evolved into what he was.
Right.
That's what it done for me more than anything else. Obi-Wan was basically just a side character in the first one.
Yes. Now, Ian McGregor did a great job.
Yes,
on Obi-Wan.
he did.
Let's see. McGinnis, that's his name. Oh God, I can't remember the original actor of Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
But oh shit, his name's McGinnis. I know because it sounds like Guinness. But he did a good job of imitating that actor and carrying on over, and even adding his own kind of spin on things. But he didn't try to replace the original actor. And if you notice through the prequel trilogy, his look starts to
change.
Yeah, it starts to look like Obi-Wan, what you see in the 4th one. But with the Obi-Wan TV show, they kind of a little bit.
Yeah.
They made him look like a hobo.
Yeah.
He lost all of his powers, and that doesn't even fit in continuity with what you see in Star Wars Rebels.
Right.
Now they're trying to say that he has his low point and he's trying to rise up to it, but it just seems pointless because at the end of the day, they're building up to a Vader fight with Obi-Wan. And it's okay, but it still puts him back at square one.
Yeah.
You know, back where he was before Revenge of the Sith and Empire didn't have no bridge.
Yeah.
So it seems pointless to watch.
Well, one thing about the prequels, though, is it showed Anakin growing up and what he was going to turn into.
Mm-hmm.
But you've also got to understand, the Emperor was trying to control him all the way through.
Right. Right. And Palpatine was played awesomely by
Yeah.
I can't think of his damn name.
Yeah.
I should have got everybody's name recorded, but
Are you threatening me, Master Jedi?
The Senate will decide your fate.
I am the Senate.
Not yet.
It's treason, then.
for everything that the prequels get, all the flack they get, they did a good job of what they had.
Mm-hmm.
The weakest part of the prequels is the writing is a little dull.
In places.
It's really dull. Like sand, it gets everywhere. Everybody's used that line for everything, you know?
Well, that's where they was at. Mostly was in sand.
Yeah. If you think about it, Tatooine is featured in almost, 3 movies, I think?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Oh, 4 movies. Clone Wars. Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
It was there, too. But what bugs me about the Disney Star Wars stuff is they're trying to fill in with a lot of action, but with some weak character development.
Mm-hmm.
Because, might as well cover it, the sequels. In your point of view, are they any good?
They go in the wrong direction with them. I mean, everything is already been done, but then they're just trying to kill off everybody.
Right.
That's all it's all about.
Yeah, because I think the second movie in the sequel trilogy really foobarred the whole thing. The first one was full of, remember this, remember that,
Yeah.
remember this. Oh, you like this? Well, we're going to do it like this. I wasn't against it because I was trashing it before I saw it in theaters, and then I watched it in theaters, and I was like, okay, I can get behind this. But what really sidebarred it for me is that it was just a retread of New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a bunch of questions that needed to be answered, but it didn't do anything with it in the next few movies. It tried to answer a few of them, but at the end of the day, it couldn't deliver what it was supposed to deliver. Because the next one, which was, what did they call the next one? Oh, hell, I can't remember what the second one was. The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Last Jedi, directed by Rian Johnson, where the first one was directed by J.J. Abrams. Now, J.J. Abrams has this mystery box thing. He believes in the unanswered mystery is more interesting than opening the actual box. And that's why you have so many plot threads in the first one that really don't lead anywhere into the trilogy.
Yeah.
Now, Rian Johnson believes in subverting expectations. He is famous for this. He did Looper, which you're not a big fan of.
No, I didn't really like it.
Right. Well, by doing The Last Jedi, he wanted to subvert expectations, but also include this really corny comedy that just didn't work. I mean, Star Wars has some corny comedy. I mean, you look at C-3PO and R2-D2, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. But it's reserved for those characters, where the other characters are meant to drive something forward, to drive the story on.
Well, like you said, R2-D2 and all, they was more comic than they was anything else.
Yes, they did play into the story, but that's where the comedy lived.
Yeah.
Where the actual story-driven stuff was around the other characters.
Right.
But the Disney Star Wars stuff, everybody was part of the comedy relief. Everybody was a part of the story stuff. And I will admit, I think The Last Jedi really foobarred the entire trilogy because it killed off the bad guy. Snoke, I think that's what his name was.
Yeah.
And it really didn't do much with Kylo Ren other than try to establish this weird relationship with Rey, which I thought was weird. But
Well, it was kind of a side thing.
all right.
What it is, they was just trying to kill Rey off.
Right.
And then Kylo Ren, he wanted to take her as his wife or whatever you want to talk
Yeah, it
about.
was weird, really weird.
And she wasn't interested in none of it.
She kind of was, but kind of wasn't. The relationship dynamic was not done well.
No, it wasn't.
I think it would have been better if they put Rian Johnson on the end because it felt like he was trying to end the trilogy on the second movie.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, dude, what are you doing? You're screwing us over. But I will admit, The Last Jedi is the best looking of the entire trilogy. Because I've watched it twice. I've tried to watch it a third time. I can't get through it all. But I noticed that the cinematography is actually spot on. A lot of the effects are practical, and the CG that is in there does look good. He was trying to go with this red motif all the way through the film, and it does look good. But the problem is the story is garbage. And
what I didn't like about the second one, they done away with Obi-Wan.
right,
They killed him off. Okay.
now
Huh?
Luke Skywalker,
In the last one.
Last Jedi, Luke Skywalker.
Right. They want to kill him off.
Right.
But in the second one,
No, he died in the second one.
was it the second one?
Yeah,
Okay.
because remember she was training with Mark Hamill. They were setting him up to be her
that's
teacher,
right.
and they
That's
killed him
right.
off.
That's right.
And then they had Carrie Fisher come in as her actual teacher in the third one, which
Right.
makes no sense. But I guess she did the whole Mary Poppins thing. Now she's a Jedi Master.
Yeah. But and that one was a waste. Everybody sitting there waiting to run out of fuel.
Yeah, it really was. The story plot is just to not run out of fuel and get blown up out of space. But if you think about it, there's only one ship that can track them all. So why didn't they just split up?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. You go that way, you go this way, and some of us will survive, some of us will die. It's a sad thing, but if they follow that big ass ship but have nobody on it except for a purple haired lady, then there's no real loss because she was going to die at the end anyway.
Right.
You know, it's just. And then the third movie came on, and it was trying to fix everything the second movie did, but it couldn't establish its own storyline.
No, it failed miserably.
Right. It brought Lando in, but the sad thing is Carrie Fisher had passed away.
Yep.
They killed Han Solo off in the actual story. Mark Hamill was killed off in the actual story.
Right.
So why bring
Or
Lando?
was he?
He was a Force ghost.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then that last line at the end of the movie, "I'm all the Jedi."
Yeah.
That was so lame. But as a whole, I think if you go back before the Star Wars stuff or pick and choose the actual series you like from Disney Star Wars and then put it in, you're going to have a good time as long as you pick out the bad stuff.
Right.
It's basically a bowl of oatmeal. You pick out the rat shit and then try to enjoy what you can, you know?
Yeah, but to get through the whole thing at one time, you're looking at about 3 weeks.
You're looking at longer than that, especially if you're going to the original EU, which is, for both good and bad, some of the best Star Wars external stuff that you will enjoy. Because, let's see, I don't think you've played any of the EU games, have you?
No.
You played, let's see, I really need to get you to play the Jedi games that came out a few years ago.
I tried one, if you remember.
That you played
It was,
Jedi Fallen Order?
yeah.
Yeah, now that's a hard game to play, but Star Wars has been known for having some of the hardest games out there. Go all the way back on the Super Nintendo with the Super Star Wars games, they're pretty hard.
Yeah. I think as far as I got with second level.
Yeah, it's not something for the faint to try.
Hey, I'm lucky to get by with what I do.
Yeah, but there's so many things from Star Wars to enjoy. It's kind of stupid to try to write off all of it just because of what Disney's done for the past few years.
Yeah.
Now, in your perspective, do you think Star Wars is still relevant today as a cornerstone of entertainment?
Yes. And the reason of that is because I grew up with it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And with me growing up with it, I've seen it all the way from the beginning, all the way till up today. And it's very entertaining.
Right.
But I guess what makes it different for me is because I was there at the beginning. And back then, there wasn't really a lot of shows that had to do with outer space and stuff like that.
Well,
I mean, you had Lost in Space and stuff like that, Battle Beyond the Stars, stuff like that. But that was just a single movie.
Right.
Okay, and Star Wars was a series. And you got to follow it all the way from the beginning, all the way to today, by putting everything in different order.
Yeah, it's an IP in space that has a straight continuity to it. Whereas if you go through Star Trek, if you try to watch the show, you can watch it out of order if you want. Now the movies, like a lot of things, are a lot of hit and miss with Star Trek. But I feel Star Trek appeals to those that have more of a logical mind, whereas Star Wars, it has a kind of story that can appeal to all. Like, I know people who are fans of Star Wars who aren't a fan of Star Trek, and I've seen people who are a fan of both, but it's usually in that order.
Yeah, but Star Trek was made as a series to begin with.
Right.
Okay, and with it being made as a series, then it was set up a different way than it would be for the movies.
Yes, but also...
Yeah, you had the movies in between.
Right. No. The movies came out after the series aired because you got to think Star Trek was canceled. Let's see, what was it? It was canceled on its third season because I got right up there.
Yeah.
It was canceled on its third season, and then they came out with the movies, the motion picture, which ironically saved Star Trek.
Yeah.
You know, but that's a conversation for another time. But I also agree. I think Star Wars still serves as a cornerstone for entertainment.
Well, it was, like I said, it was the first in its way of doing things.
Right.
You know, it wasn't about politics here. It was politics in a whole different universe, and it was a dictator situation, basically.
You could say it was a story a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, separating itself from us.
Right.
Now, George has been noted for saying that the prequel trilogy did mirror some things from 2000, like the Bush administration and stuff like that, but we will not get into politics. But at the end of the day, he did put stuff in there, but the way he wrote the prequel movies, he did kind of try to make it to where anybody can enjoy this. You didn't have to fall toward a certain wayside to like the movies, like a lot of movies nowadays, where you either with this or against it kind of thing.
Right.
The prequel trilogies, you can see any political party in the side of evil or good.
Right.
That's what it was meant to do. And I think George did a good job. It's just he needed help with his dialogue. And I think a big problem with that is in the original trilogy, he had editors, like his first wife, come in and say, George, this ain't going to work. You need to go back and rewrite this. Even Mark Hamill is famous for saying, George, I can't say this. You got to tweak it somehow and make it better, you know? Whereas in the prequel trilogy, they said, here, George, here's a blank check. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And that's why there are so many references to Hammer movies in the prequel trilogy. Count Dooku, he's famous for playing Dracula. You also had David Prowse come in as Darth Vader in the original trilogy and Peter Cushing as Governor Tarkin.
Yeah.
Now, both these actors are noted for playing in Hammer films. And he went overboard with the Hammer references in the prequel trilogy. If you know what I'm talking about, you probably go through the prequel trilogy and just pick them out. Ooh, I know what that is, you know? But, yeah, I'm going to agree. I think that Star Wars is still relevant, even with all the garbage that Disney has done.
Well, you got a different point of view of it from me. But it's like this. Look how long it's been going. And it's still very, very popular.
Yes, even though it has took some dip in recent years, and it's kind of harder for new people to get into it, as long as you introduce them to the original trilogy first and then the prequel trilogy, I think you'll make a fan out of them.
Yeah.
It's just pick and choose what you go for from there.
Well, the first three that come out were really popular. I mean, they started having fan base back in the 80s on this.
Well, New Hope came out in 1977, and it was able to get enough ground. But also, it rode off the curtails of Jaws, believe it or not, which came out, I think, 2 years before?
Yes.
And that's what started the blockbuster craze. It was lightning in a bottle. Because when you had Jaws come out, people went out to watch it. It's like, dude, this movie's really, really good. Go watch it. And then Star Wars comes out a few years later and just like, we got another good movie. Go watch it, you know? And that's what started the big blockbuster hype for Hollywood. Believe it or not, Steven Spielberg and George Lucas are the fathers of modern-day Hollywood blockbusters.
Yeah.
But I think that's all we really got time for today. Dad, thank you for helping me do this. I really appreciate it. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I wanted to do it last year, but stuff didn't really line up well. But we had a chance to do it now. So, again, thanks, Dad. I appreciate it.
No problem, son.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of how to close this out. I'd like to thank everybody who stayed and watched all the way through the video. This was actually a first-time deal for both me and my dad because we didn't use a script if it wasn't obvious. And I think if we can, we may try to do it again with a different topic. It depends on how well this video does and if he's willing to get up to it, because both me and my dad are big Star Wars nerds. We've always been Star Wars nerds, just like we said in the video. So maybe we'll cover a different topic later down the road. But in the meantime, if you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you want more. There's going to be another Star Wars video later in the month. I'm almost finished with it. I just got a few more tweaks on it before I can actually get it out. The channel also has a Patreon page. There's a link in the bio down below. If you want to help support the channel further, go ahead and give that a check out. And that's pretty much it. But until then, y'all take care.